You mentioned the service members with mental health care needs. Are you saying that story has not been fully told yet?
What I'm saying is that when people go to visit Walter Reed, they often forget to stop by Ward 54. Ward 54 is the lockdown psychological ward where soldiers who don't have physical injuries that you can see, they have the unseen wounds of war. They don't get Purple Hearts, and their stories need to be told. America needs to understand that all the wounds of this war are not just physical.
Are you saying that we read the stories in the Washington Post? There have been numerous follow-on stories since then. Is it your sense, Peter Gaeton, that that's another part of the story that we haven't heard fully yet?
The mental health care needs of returning service members is going to be a major obligation of not only DoD health care, but also VA health care. And Steve mentioned it's a major issue that needs to be taken into account. We're getting mental health care individuals from the combat who have mental health care needs. Some of these issues may not manifest themselves for 5 to 10 years down the road. We saw this in Vietnam. What Congress has done is has allowed any combat service member who returns from Afghanistan or Iraq to receive 2 years of treatment in a VA health care facility. Well, what if those mental health care issues don't manifest themselves within 2 years? What we need to do is ensure that Congress, the administration, and we as citizens of this country meet our obligation to our wounded service members who come back and have sacrificed for our own freedoms and ensuring that they get the treatment they need. And we do that by funding VA and DoD at a level that will allow them to meet their obligations.
And that funding has been an issue.
Right. And we're working with Congress right now. There's a flurry of legislation going around in this particular supplemental that talks about increasing the number of care providers, increasing the number of mental health care professionals, fully funding mental health care. Right now, DoD's at 60% capacity. We need to fill up that other 40%.
Steve Robinson, you've also, I understand, have some additional information to share with us about service members coming back home wounded and then being sent back to the war zone. Is that correct?
Yeah, recently I worked with Mark Benjamin from Salon.com, and he and I worked on a story in which soldiers had reported to us they were getting ready to be deployed to the war zone, and they had limiting profiles. A P3 profile means you're not supposed to deploy. It's a kind of profile that means you can't do your job. You can't carry your weapon, you can't carry your rucksack. And these soldiers were saying they had those profiles, but they were being sent to the war anyway. Mark wrote his story. A lot of soldiers got sent to Iraq, and the latest update that we have is that the DoD IG reports that some of those soldiers are being sent back home now. They were inappropriately deployed. The Senate Armed Services Committee has been involved in this issue, the House Armed Services Committee, so people are starting to look at it.
And so there's some response from DoD?
There's movement, but we haven't really heard exactly how many people got inappropriately deployed, what were their profiles, and what is DoD going to do to prevent this in the future at other bases.
This is something that you and others are following. Peter Gaeton, we heard the President say this is, he said this is a result of bureaucratic and administrative failures. He apologized. Is that the underlying cause as you see it? Does that explain what happened here?
Well, the American Legion understands that, yes, it was bureaucratic and administrative shortfalls that have caused some of the administrative problems that our wounded service members have experienced, not only at Walter Reed, but other locations. But you need to couple that administrative shortfall with the amount of wounded service members who are returning. By Congress's own admission just 2 years ago, when they were providing funding for VA, they did not anticipate the large number of wounded service members that are returning. And some of those wounded service members, as we see every day, are going to Walter Reed. Well, that's a large influx of patients, and the rehabilitative process is taking even longer than expected. So you're getting a large amount of veterans going through that system at Walter Reed, and that needs to be addressed. And we can't ignore the fact that Walter Reed is also on the BRAC list, the closure. Walter Reed is scheduled for closure.
Being closed.
Base realignment and closure list. So Walter Reed's being designated to be closed. So you have to ask yourself, how can you commit federal, how much are the appropriate amount of federal funds being committed to a facility that's targeted for closure in the next 8 years?
And what's the answer?
We need to take that into account. We shouldn't look at the need for closure. We should look at the demand for health care. There are service members in that facility right now, and there are family members who are there helping their wounded service members get through the process. Their immediate needs should be addressed in federal funding, not the anticipation of closure of Walter Reed, but the needs of those Americans who are wearing the uniform and coming back with wounds.
So when the President says against Steve Romney, he acknowledges their failures, he apologizes, look at the overall picture. Commissions have been appointed by the President, by the Department of Defense, Veterans Affairs. Is this administration responding as it should be to these problems?
Well, from this point forward, there is a response, and we're looking to see the results of the commissions. But one question I want to raise right now is, what about all the people that fell through the cracks that have now been kicked out of the military inappropriately, have lost their VA benefits forever because they weren't screened for mental health or they didn't identify their traumatic brain injury? If we're going to move forward from this point forward, draw a line in the sand and move forward, that's great. But let's make sure we take care of those people that have honorably served and didn't get the help that they need. Let's go back in time and correct those problems too.
Is any of that being looked at by the administration?
Well, I think the steps that we've seen recently since Walter Reed issues have been brought to light, the President's visit today and his commitment to moving forward, to saying, yeah, we realize we have problems, let's do the right thing. And the American Legion wants to be part of that solution. The Secretary of VA took one step immediately after seeing the conditions of Walter Reed, and he created 100 new patient advocates to be at the VA facilities. Making positive steps like that will solve the problems. We as a nation need to hold our Congress and our administration to task. And when these issues are brought to light, allow them the opportunity and give them the assistance they need to correct the problems. The focus here should be the needs of our service members, not who's to blame or how we're going to get there. Let's just get there together.
I'm glad you pointed that out. We did get a statement from the VA today pointing out not only these hiring of 100 patient advocates, they talk about the advisory committees they've created that include service members who were wounded and their families. Well, this is a story that we are going to continue to follow, and we thank both of you for being with us, Tony Gaeton and Steve Robinson. Thank you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.